This is homework help for the Section 2.2 review worksheet, where you have the distributing on the top and the factoring on the bottom. The first section is for distributing. Remember, we use the colors to help us distribute whatever the number is outside of parentheses. What is your answer first? Now remember, you start with the 9, which needs to be shared with the n and the negative 12. The 9 goes in the black box. Bring down your red n and your blue negative 12. Remember that technically the n has a 1 in front of it. Now it's time to multiply. 9 times 1, they're both positive. That is a positive 9. Bring down the n. 9, which is positive, times a negative 12 will give you a negative 108. So your answer is 9n minus 108. Number 2, negative 4 times the quantity of 3n plus 5. What is your answer first? Remember that we're sharing the negative 4, so the negative 4 goes in the black boxes. Then you bring down the red 3n and the blue positive 5. Now it's time to multiply. Negative 4 times a positive 3 is a negative 12. Bring down your n. Negative 4 times a positive 5 is a negative 20. Your answer is negative 12n minus 20. Number 3, negative 2 times the quantity of k minus 5. What's your answer? Negative 2 is the number to share, so we will use that in the black boxes. Then it's time to bring down your red k and your blue negative 5. Now multiply. Negative 2 times k, or 1k, is a negative 2k. Negative 2 times a negative 5 is a positive 10. Your answer is negative 2k plus 10. Now it's reversed. You have the quantity of 7n plus 3 times the quantity of negative 1. Remember, the negative 1 is in parentheses because it's a negative and it doesn't get confused with the parentheses. So you need to switch your colors as well, because it is the negative 1 that is being multiplied by the 7n and the 3. What is your answer? You should have negative 1 in the black boxes, then bring down your 7n in the red box, and your positive 3 in the blue box. Then you should have multiplied 7n times a negative 1, positive times a negative is negative 7n. Then you have a positive 3 times a negative 1, and that is a negative 3. Your answer was negative 7n minus 3. Again, you have the number that is being shared at the back of the equation, or the expression. So you have the quantity of 8x plus 6 times 7. What is your answer? Remember, it is the 7 being shared, so that is brought down into the black boxes. Then you bring down the red 8x and the blue positive 6. Then it's time to multiply. 8x times 7 is 56x. A positive 6 times a positive 7 is a positive 42. Your answer is 56x plus 42. Number 6. 13 times the quantity of 3n minus 2. What is your answer? We're back to having the shared number in the front, so that goes in the black box, and that was 13. Then you had to bring down the red number, which was 3n, and the blue number, which was negative 2. Now it's time to multiply. 13 times 3n is 39n. A positive 13 times a negative 2 is a negative 26. Your final answer is 39n minus 26. Now we're down into the factoring section of the worksheet. Number 7 is 18y minus 3, and you need to factor it. So your first job is to find the greatest common factor of 18 and -3. Again, we're only worried about the negative if it is the first term, so we know that our greatest common factor will still be a positive number. So remember, we're going to look at the smaller number factors first, and the smaller number is 3. I know that 1 and 3 are factors of 3, 2 is not, so those are the only factors. So those are the only two I need to look at for 18. I do know that 18 has 1 because 1 times 18 is 18. And if I look at 3, I know that 3 times 6 is 18. Well, 6 is not a factor of 3, 18 is not a factor of 3, so I only have 1 and 3 to pick from. And we're looking for the greatest common factor, which is 3. And remember, since the first term is positive, the greatest common factor is positive, so it is a positive 3. So that is what we're going to divide each term by. So our first term is 18y, and our second term is -3. They just go down into the circles here, so 18y and -3. 18y divided by 3 goes into 18 6 times, so this is actually 6y. And then a -3 divided by 3 is a negative divided by positive is a negative, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So how do we put that into our answer? Remember, the greatest common factor goes outside the parentheses, that was the 3. Then inside the parentheses, you have the first term answer, and then the second term answer. So your answer is 3 times the quantity of 6y minus 1. Now let's factor 6n plus 30. Remember, we're trying to find the greatest common factor. The first term, 6n, is a positive. The second term is positive 30. So look at the 6 since that's a smaller number. I know 1 and 6 times 6. 1 times 6 equals 6. I know that 6 can be divided by 2, and that equals 3. Those are the factors of 6, and they're the only 4 we need to look at 30. So 30 does have a 1, because 1 times 30 equals 30. It does have a 2. 2 times 15 equals 30. It does have a 3. 3 times 10 equals 30. And for the 6, we know that 5 times 6 equals 30. So when you look at the numbers that it can be, we cross off the ones that we know are definitely not factors of the 6. And it's either 1, 2, 3, or 6. We want the biggest one, so 6 is the greatest common factor. So I'll put that in the box. And we now know that that is going to be in our answer outside of the parentheses, and it's also the box we divide by. Now we bring back down our terms. So we have 6n, and we have a positive 30. 6n divided by 6, the 6's cross out, and that just leaves n. A positive 30 divided by a positive 6 is a positive 5. So your answer is 6 times the quantity of n plus 5. Number 9, -12c minus 8. Our first term is -12c. Uh-oh, it's a negative. You should remember that you definitely need to make sure that you put a negative for your greatest common factor. The next term is a -8. What's your answer first? Okay, remember that we need to find the greatest common factor first. Look at the smaller number, the 8 first. We know we have 1 and 8. 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 3 does not. So we only have to look at these 4 numbers. We know with 12 that 1 does go into 12. We know that 2 goes into 12. And we know that 4 goes into 12 with the 3. 12, 6, and 3 do not go into 8, so they are not common factors. And 8 doesn't go into 12, so that's not a common factor. So we're left with 1, 2, or 4. Pick the biggest one, and 4 is your greatest common factor. Now remember, we said that the first term was a negative, so the greatest common factor is a negative, so it will be -4. So negative 4 is going to be on the outside of the parentheses, and it's also what we are dividing by in each of the terms. The first term was negative 12c, that comes down, and the second term was negative 8, so that comes down. Negative 12c divided by negative 4, a negative divided by a negative means it's a positive. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so our first term answer is 3c. A negative 8 divided by a negative 4 is a positive, since they were both negatives, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So your answer is negative 4 times the quantity of 3c plus 2. Number 10, negative 49g plus 42. What's your answer? Your first term is negative 49g, so you know that the greatest common factor is going to be a negative since the first term is a negative. Your second term is a positive 42. So first, find the greatest common factor of 49 and 42. Look at the 42 because it's a smaller number. We know that 1 times 42 is 42. You can divide 2 into 42 as well. That is 21. You can divide 3 into 42. It is 14. And you can divide 6, which multiplied by 7 makes 42. So those are our choices. Now look at 49. We know that 1 times 49 makes 49. But it's not an even number, so it's definitely not a 2. So that doesn't fit. If you try to divide 3 into 49, that doesn't work. If you try to divide 6 into 49, that doesn't work. If you try to divide 7 into 49, then we know 7 times 7 is 49, and that is all the factors of 49. So we can cross off the 14, the 21, and the 42, and all is left is the 1 and the 7 over here, and the 1 and the 7 over here. So 7 is the greatest common factor. Remember how we saw that the first term was negative and knew the greatest common factor was going to be negative? It helps if you already have that in the box like this, because now you'll know that the greatest common factor is negative 7. Not 7, negative 7. And we know now that that goes before the parentheses, and it is what we divide by in each box. Let's bring down our terms. So you have negative 49g and a positive 42. Negative 49g divided by a negative 7, the negatives will cancel out and make a positive. 49 divided by 7 is 7, and bring your g along for the ride. Then you have a positive 42 divided by a negative 7. Positive divided by a negative makes it a negative. 42 divided by 7 is 6. So your answer is negative 7 times the quantity of 7g minus 6. Number 11, negative 2w plus 2. What answer did you get? Your first term is negative 2w. It's a negative, so you know that your greatest common factor is going to be negative. Your next term is a positive 2. So we're going to try to find the greatest common factor of 2. Oh, they're the same, so we know that we can divide by 2, and that's the greatest common factor. And the first term was negative, so it is a negative 2. So negative 2 is going to be in our answer before the parentheses, and it is also what we are dividing by in each box. We bring down our terms, which are negative 2w and a positive 2. Negative 2w divided by a negative 2 cancels out so that only w is left. Then a positive 2 divided by a negative 2 is a negative 1, because positive divided by negative is a negative, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So your answer is negative 2 times the quantity of w minus 1. Number 12, 25z plus 75. What's your answer? Okay, first you need to find the greatest common factor of the terms 25z and plus or positive 75. So let's look at 25 first because that's a smaller number. You do have 1 times 25, that equals 25. It's not even, so 2 doesn't go into it. 3 and 4 don't go into it, but 5 times 5 does equal 25. So those are the only 3 numbers we need to look at for 75. 1 times 75 does equal 75, and 5 times 15 equals 75. 25 does divide into 75 3 times. So those are the only numbers that we needed to look at, and they're all in 75. We don't need to worry about the 3, we don't need to worry about the 15 or the 75. The highest number out of all those is 25, so your greatest common factor is 25. So I'll write that in the box. So 25 will be on the outside of our answer of the parentheses, and it'll also be what we divide each term by. We'll bring the terms down, so we have the 25z and the positive 75. 25z divided by 25, the 25's cancel out and all we have left is that z. Then 75 divided by 25 is a positive 3. The answer is 25 times the quantity of z plus 3. Number 13, negative 99x minus 36. What answer did you get? First, find the greatest common factor of the two terms negative 99x and negative 36. You should have seen that the first term was negative, so our greatest common factor is going to be negative. Let's look at the smaller number, 36. We do have 1 times 36 equals 36. You do have 2 times 18 equals 36. You do have 3 times 12 equals 36. Times 9 equals 30. And you do have 6 times 6 equals 30. So we're only going to look at those. So these are some big numbers, and here's another trick of what you can do. You can start with the greatest common factor of the 36 and work your way back to see which ones work. The first one that works will be your greatest common factor for both numbers. 36 does not divide into 99, so it is not that one. 18 does not divide into 99, so it's not that one. And 12 does not divide into 99, so it's not that. But 9 does divide into 99 because 9 times 11 is 99. So your greatest common factor is 9. If you remember, we already put a negative in the box because our first term was negative, so the greatest common factor will actually be negative 9. That's going to start our answer before the parentheses, and it's also going to be what we divide by for each term. Then we bring our terms down, negative 99x and negative 36. Negative 99x divided by 9 equals negative 11x. So that is our first term. Then negative 36 divided by negative 9 is a positive 4 because two negatives divided by each other equal a positive. Your final answer is negative 9 times the quantity of negative 11x plus 4. Number 14, negative 15d plus 45. What's the answer that you got? First, you find your greatest common factor of 15 and 45. And you know that your terms are negative 15d and a positive 45, and your first one was a negative, so your greatest common factor is going to be a negative. So we'll look at the 15 first, because that's the smaller number. We know 1 times 15 is 15. It's not an even number, so 2 doesn't divide into it. But 3 does divide into it, and 3 times 5 equals 15. 4 does not divide into it, so these are all the factors that we have. So if we want to use the cheater method and start with the greatest number we can here, let's see if 15 divides into 45. Why, yes, it does, because 3 times 15 is 45. So that means that's the greatest common factor. And if you remember, our first term was negative, so it's actually going to be a negative 15. So that is what's going to start our answer, and it's also going to be what we divide by. Then we bring down our terms, negative 15d and a positive 45. Negative 15 divided by negative 15 is going to cancel out, and that's going to leave just d. A negative divided by negative is a positive. Then a positive 45 divided by a negative 15 is going to be a negative 3. Our answer is negative 15 times the quantity of d minus 3. Number 15, 72m minus 18. What is your answer first? Our two terms are 72m and a negative 18. We need to find the greatest common factor of 72 and 18. So we're going to look at the 18 since that's the smaller number. We know that 1 times 18 equals 18. Divided by 2, it would be 9. Divided by 3, it would be 6. 4 does not go into 18 and 5 does not go into 18. So let's use the cheater method. Let's see if 18 goes into 72. And you'd be surprised to know that actually it does. 18 times 4 equals 72. So right off the bat, we found our greatest common factor, which is 18. So I'll write that in the box. That is also going to start our answer, and it's going to be what we divide each term by. I'll bring down the terms, 72m and negative 18. 72 divided by 18, we already found out was 4, and then carry the m down to. A negative 18 divided by a positive 18 would be a negative 1. Your answer is 18 times the quantity of 4m minus 1. This completes the review sheet. Let me know if this helped you or if there's anything I could do better. Thanks and have a great day.